What up everyone? Welcome back to another video. Welcome back to the channel. This is gonna be a fun one. I prepared only my shots of the final round of the Preserve Championships last week in Minnesota. Huge shout out to Jomis Pro for allowing me to use their footage. Shout out to Airborne Discs, Prodigy, KL Aviska for making this tournament happen and making it all a reality. It was a complete pleasure to compete out here on one of the funnest courses I think we've played on tour in a long time for me. Of course, huge shout out and thank you to Jomis Pro for allowing me to use their footage. I'm sure everyone knows who they are, like come on. Subscribe to Jomis Pro and enjoy the best quality disc golf content in the world. Easy. Alright, so let's jump right into hole one. I just want to talk you through my shot selection, my disc selection, what the vibes were like, the strategies on the lead card, and kind of just what we were thinking going through and how this course played, because Eagle and I were tied in third at 4 back of Calvin and Nico, who were 30 under after 2 rounds. 4 back on this course felt like a lot of miles to catch up. But we had a bit more wind today, and the wind really, it wasn't that much wind, but it still played with your mind a lot because it was playing 2 rounds with absolutely no wind at all, and then having small gusts will like mess with your disc selection, shot selection, and just with your whole game plan. Because disc golf and wind is definitely the biggest factor by far that influences our shots. So we have hole 1, I'm back of the box, so I tee off last, which can be nice, but it also can be difficult. In this case, it was nice. I mean, I'm on lead card here, bunch of cameras. The gallery wasn't that big because of COVID, but it was still a nice gallery, and it was actually a super friendly gallery, clap for everything. We love that kind of stuff. But Nico, Calvin, and Eagle all threw shots that were not good. I mean, they weren't bad shots, but none of us would probably say those were good shots. So that gave me so much more confidence to step up, because on hole 1, all of us have nerves. I don't care if you're Paul McBeth or a Johnny McRae who's been doing it for 30 years, or Simon Lizotte, we all get nervous on hole 1. And if you have to follow up 3 great shots, it definitely makes it a lot harder. So I was thankful that the other guys threw very safe shots out to the right, and I had attack face on, so I definitely wanted to throw a better shot here, and it actually worked out perfectly. That just didn't flip as much as I thought it would, but it got a little wind lift too. We were throwing into a headwind, and that ended up absolutely perfect. A little closer to the OB than I would like, but that left me this little sky god out shot. This just right here, actually. Straight at the basket. There's a couple different approaches to this hole, but I had the chance to just absolutely park it. Tap and birdie on hole 1. We got a star frame on hole 1, so nothing changed. Off to hole 2, which is this funky little wooded, you can almost say it was a wooded hole clearly, and this was all about hitting this initial gap right here. You just got to go through here either on like a hyzer flip or an overstable disc on a slight turnover, and then it should flex back to the basket. This hole says 280, but it felt like 180. It was a very short 280. Shouldn't really be a problem, and I was throwing a sky god here on round 1 and 2 and birdied both rounds, and now I'm throwing an MD3, and I don't remember why I thought that was a good idea. I'm not sure why I thought that was a good idea, but I think it was because of the wind. I trusted my mid-range more in the wind than I trusted the putter, which, as you can see, was a big mistake. Got a bit lucky there. That was a good break to get right to the middle of the fairway and left me this wide open gap to just chip up my sky god. That was not as easy as it looked easier. I was super pleased with that second shot because I didn't want a 20 to 25 foot tester for par on hole 2. In potential a little gusty winds. I just wanted to tap in that 3 and move on because all other 3 guys were parked. I already knew I was going to lose a stroke, so I didn't want to make it a complete disaster early in the round. Hole 3 was a long par 3 that played pretty tricky because the hyzer was taken out of play by the woods, so you had to throw something flippy on a hyzer flip or force something over. Some people threw sidearms at it, and this green with the slope left of the basket, of course, if you land anything too far left on the green, you'll be outside circle 1 putting uphill at the basket, which isn't bad, but I was throwing my S-Line PD here, and I was so stoked that I threw this shot perfect all 3 rounds. Like, that was the furthest I was from this basket at like 5 feet. Tap and birdie on that one. Eagle also got that one, and both Nico and Calvin missed it. Oh wait, hole 1. Nico didn't birdie it, sorry, that was wrong information. So we caught up on Nico 1, and now we caught up another one on Nico, so Eagle went perfect. I'm 2 under through 3. Calvin is 2 under because he missed hole 3. So yeah, hole 4 was a par 4, and I was throwing after Eagle because I was second on the box now, and Eagle chose to throw the really aggressive roller, and I was checking the T sign here to see if he was OB, because way right over the path is OB, which didn't really come into play, but because of the wind that was pushing headwind left to right, so once that disc flipped, the wind just pushed it all the way to the right over the cart path into the OB, which guaranteed a best case par for Eagle on this 700-foot par 4, which this first shot you can easily throw it 500, 550. It lines up perfectly for this turnover rip for right hand backhand. But the wind really was pushing here straight into our faces, so overturning it was very easy to do, which I did, and that shot was about 80 feet shorter than I was ever in practice or in the previous rounds. So this was a shot that I never practiced. I never was in this position before. Got the sky out of my hand. The wind calmed down here a bit. Just trying to put it on the line. The line was great, actually. That would have slid right up to it, and it just needed that extra foot of power or of height, and it would have slid like 20 to 15 feet right up to the basket. Now it left me this weird, funky left to right headwind putt to this elevated basket. Airballing this one would have meant pretty much an outside circle 1 comebacker for par, which I was clearly way too careful here. I tried to float it in, use the headwind to carry my disc, but my disc just went, dude, that was way too weak. Like, try again. A little disappointed with that start. 2 out of the first 4, definitely not ideal. I think I birdied all 4 the previous rounds. Oh no, I parred hole 1, round 1, but it still was my worst start out of the 3 rounds. But both Nico, Calvin, and Eagle now didn't birdie all the holes, and this hole, everything changes on this hole. So you can see Nico and I are 2 under for the round, Calvin and Eagle are 3 under for the round. Not great, but no disasters either. I just watched Calvin throw OB left, Eagle throw a roller into the trees, and Nico being also pretty short left, which opened up everything for me. I was last on the box again, and complete freedom, no pressure. Also, because of my slightly bad start, I wasn't sure yet that I was going to be able to like pick it back up and start birdieing out from here, which I know I kind of had to birdie out at this point if I wanted a chance to win. And I still had to wait for mistakes of the other guys. So I'm in the best position here. Calvin is probably going to get a bogey at this point. Eagle's not in position for birdie. Nico is not in position for birdie. And this shot was difficult for 2 reasons. Number 1, the wind. It was gusty right now, straight headwind. Number 2, I was never in this position in practice. That was by far the best drive I've ever thrown on this hole. I was probably a good 60 feet closer than I ever was. So I was right between my like fairway drivers and distance drivers on this shot, which is probably now another 400 feet into straight headwind. Big hyzers out of play because of trees, so I was trying to push it straight at it with my PD that I threw on hole 3. a shot I also never threw in any practice rounds or in any previous rounds, and you can see that disc just going wham, wham, wham in the wind. I didn't quite commit to pushing it flat and outright enough. I didn't want to miss right, because I knew as long as I don't miss right, I'll at least have a putt, and I'll still end up probably gaining a stroke on at least one person on the card. Everyone's laid up now. I'm putting for birdie, Nico for par, Kelvin for bogey, eagle for par. So this right here was a huge moment, downhill putt, tailwind left to right. I just was like, give it height, give it a chance. And right when I let go of that disc, I was dead center. Got the slow mez, that's always a huge bonus for us nowadays. Of course, when we watch back the footage, which everyone I think does, getting that slow mez or fall off flight is always a fun bonus. And off to hole 6, this is now where I took the box. I had the box. I'm not thinking about chances of winning at this point or anything. I'm just trying to birdie out, go shot by shot, go hole by hole. All these holes are gettable. The wind might play with it a bit, but I'm thinking everyone is just gonna birdie everything. That's what I'm thinking. So I just want to put on a show, play well on camera, and have fun. That is just the key for me. The wind was also a headwind here, and it was weird. It was like drifting, and it was right to left, so I pushed it out wide, but it never got that lift I was expecting. I also slightly grip locked it. So I ended up in this weird position, and even weirder than this position is that all 3 other guys threw worse shots than me and ended up all short of the basket. Kelvin short left, Nico and Eagle short right, and they all missed their putts before I stepped up to this one. So I was like, dang guys, you're gonna give me back-to-back holes where I can get strokes on the whole card? On this course, which that never happens. Solo birdies on this course on the league cards should never happen. So I had this little funky gap through the skinny trees, and that putt was so dead center. It felt so good. It felt a bit lucky because it was like, Yuli in the commentary called it a little stabber, a stab putt, where you just like chuck it at it because you can't follow through the whole way. And I just hit the timing exactly perfectly. Again, right out of the hand, I could see that it was just tracking straight to the pole. I think that putt was even better than the putt on hole 5. So you could see my face there. Now I'm thinking like, okay, I just got 3 strokes and 2 holes on Kelvin, 2 on Nico, 2 on Eagle. What is going on? Starting to think about that kind of stuff, but I'm like, hey, I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing, and hope the other guys make more mistakes and let me win holes. Hole 7 was one of the trickier holes on the front 9. That one stump in the middle of the fairway we just flew over. You have to barely miss that. It doesn't really matter where you miss it, as long as you miss it and are in the hyzer angle, and everything will then funnel down to this hanging basket, which was a little funky, but fun. Looks cool on camera, I think, and it was fun to putt on. Little too swingy. I think it should be attached on the bottom too, so it doesn't swing as much. And I throw my PD again. Early release, barely missed the trees, like maybe an inch, but snuck by, got a good skip, and actually put me in circle 1. Again, best drive of the card. All other players already missed their putts again. So I'm putting to just keep beating everyone on the hole again. That was by far the easiest putt I've had lately. 20 to 25 footer. I was confident at this point. There was no wind at all in this woods, so that one felt pretty easy, no problem. And suddenly, dang, I didn't look at the scores now, but suddenly I think I'm tied with Nico, or 1 back of Nico, 1 back of Kelvin, and 1 or 2 ahead of Eagle. And it felt like 10 minutes ago I was like, oh, I have no chance on winning, and suddenly it's a battle, which was pretty exciting going into this massive par 5, which I've played extremely poorly in the previous rounds. I actually went OB on my second shot, one time on my second, one time on my third shot. In both rounds, it's not acceptable. It's one of the only holes OB even comes into play. And of course, I would throw right into it. But as you can see, straight out of bounds. But yeah, I changed up my game plan here. I told myself after round 2, I'm not throwing that turnover shot again. Just didn't work. So I was going to throw a roller. I turned it over a bit too much. Put me on the right side. The left side of the fairway here is much better. Oh yeah, I'm 2 ahead of Eagle and 1 back of the leaders. Right side really doesn't allow you to attack here, which might be kind of a good thing, because now I couldn't even think about doing anything crazy. And this shot is difficult now. Even the layup is difficult for 2 reasons. It's a blind layup. So the OB starts, and because of that little hill, you can't see where the OB starts. So you kind of just have to trust that you remember exactly where it is, how hard you have to throw, what angle you have to throw to not reach the OB. But you also don't want to be too short, because then you're cut off and then you have to throw kind of a blind shot to the basket. So this was a really touchy shot, which I screwed up badly in round 2 and round 1, where I threw it straight OB long. But grabbing my mid-range and actually putting it in the perfect position, and I can't tell you enough that this shot felt much harder than it looked. So I was very happy that I was in position. You can see my face, I'm just like, not gonna bogey this round. I never bogeyed it, but I saved the par from like 200 feet. With this exact disc, shout out to SkyGod3. These shots were just working for me all weekend. Those 150 to 200 foot shots just felt so easy. Every time I touched that disc, I would just put it on a slight turnover, could fully trust it, and it would like land within 15 feet of the basket almost every single time, which was nice. I had a lot of tap-ins, lots of tap-ins. Hole 9 was a hole that says 380 but felt like 450. Very long 380, but I laser gunned it and it is 380, and I can't explain it. It feels so far, and every time you throw a hyzer at it, it feels like you're 30 feet short. At least that's what I did, and that's what I saw. So I'm lining up this shot full of momentum after taking a lot of strokes. Nico just parred that last hole as well. Nico has 4 pars in a row. I have 4 birdies in a row. So I'm now tied with Nico, 1 behind of Calvin. Eagle 2 back of me. And that was such a bad grip lock. But the grip lock is the good miss here. So I knew that if I throw it hard enough, I wanted to get the distance right, which I did. Then missing right is definitely much better than missing left, because that'll put you in this bunker, which is not OB or not a hazard or anything. You just play it where it lies. And now instead of having a death putt, I have this uphill 25 footer. Very key putt for me right here, because I have the momentum and I have to make sure I keep the momentum going. I putted 3rd here, I think, and 2 other guys were already in for birdie, and I think Calvin was parked for birdie. So I needed to make sure I don't lose a stroke after I just gained a bunch. And that putt again was just so right in the middle, exactly where I wanted it, building huge confidence. These 20 to 25 footers are the confidence builders and definitely the money makers in any tournament round. So hole 10, man, I can't even explain what went wrong on this hole for me. I shot 1 over on this hole on the weekend, and apparently it is one of the easiest holes on the entire course for most people. I don't know if I was between discs or between brain cells. It was just miserable. I threw OB right round 1, almost threw OB left round 2, almost threw OB left again round 2, different disc every single round, by the way. I can't believe it. Someone was holding up an umbrella sideways, and I was wondering if that means OB. but it was just a sign for the U-Disc to do live scoring that meant circle 2. Umbrella like this means circle 2, like that means circle 1. They have some codes like that. So terrible putt again, tapping in for par. Shockingly, the entire card parred that hole. So I started to feel like, things are really going my way. When I mess up, the other guys also mess up. And when I'm not messing up, the other guys still mess up. So I'm thinking, still not trying to like get too much into my head, thinking I have a chance to win. I was like, just birdie out from here. Hole 10, forget about hole 10. That hole wasn't your friend for the entire weekend. Just now birdie the rest. This hole, kind of a gimme hole. I don't know if I can say that fairly, but if you throw a poor to decent tee shot, you'll still probably walk away with a birdie. I was just ripping on my DD3 here, and I finally hit that one just perfectly, just like on hole 5. Perfect flex line. That is so far down there. And from there, as you can see, I am actually putting. Putting with P1s, I thought might as well give this one a little run. Putted it super high, super floaty, so I don't go far past the basket if I miss, which I knew of course I was probably gonna miss, but might as well give it a chance. Tapping for birdie, that was a star frame as well. So Kelvin still one ahead of me and Nico. Eagle 2 back, or Eagle 3 back at this point, because he threw a B on that short island hole. So it felt like Eagle was kind of out of it at this point. I'm pretty sure that he also felt out of it after he threw a B on hole 10. So at this point it felt like a 3-man race. We didn't know that Emerson Keith was completely shredding at this point, and I think he might have been in first, but he was like 5 holes ahead, which on this course kind of meant 5 more birdies. So I wasn't looking at live scoring at all. I was just playing. I knew I was competing against Nico and Calvin, and I had to birdie out. I thought if I don't birdie out, there's not even a chance that I won't even be in contention. Hole 12 was messing with me also. My game plan on this hole was to throw an FD just low and soft. It's slightly downhill. All you have to do is hit this 30-foot gap. Really no reason not to park this hole every single round, but I can't even explain how poorly I played this hole. I was throwing a mid-range, didn't know what to do. Left me this 90-footer. I had a little hyzer stab at the basket, and when this went in, you can see I'm not even really like fist bumping or anything, because I was like, what? Okay, I guess I'm just gonna walk it in and move on to the next hole. I guess it's just my day. It really just felt like, okay, this is my day. If putts like this go in this kind of moments, it's like, okay, that's interesting. Why? I guess I'm just gonna ride the momentum now. Bringing us to hole 13, which was another pretty easy hole if you have the sidearm. With my elbow, I threw 0 sidearms the entire tournament. I just didn't want to feel any pain. I didn't want a chance to make it worse. So I was strict backhand, and I birdied this hole in round 1 and round 2. So I grabbed my S-Line FD and was just like, hit the gap. This is like a 70% power shot, not too much, give it some height. And I don't know why, if it was the wind or if I tried a bit too hard, but it flipped just this half an inch more than I wanted to, or more than I expected. Could have been my error. I'll take the blame. But put me way out of position, and all the guys behind me absolutely parked this hole. So I knew if I don't drain another 90-footer back to back, it was going to be a lost stroke in the lost tournament. So I really wanted to give this one height and give it a chance, and just left it barely short. It was such a good putt. The wind felt like it kind of pushed it down at the end, but I was still happy with that putt. I mean, hitting dead center middle on I think that was like a 70-footer, is always confidence building, even if it doesn't go in. Then we have a hole which is probably the toughest par 4, I would say, on the course, or definitely what the first or second toughest par 4 on the course. OB all the way left, really bad woods on the right. So this is one of the few holes where off the tee you kind of should play safe, which I absolutely didn't do. Nico threw a super short layup. I threw, Eagle threw turnover into the woods, got lucky. Calvin threw turnover into the woods, got lucky. I threw in round 1 and 2 turnovers into the woods and got lucky. So those woods were very friendly for spitting discs back out. But I absolutely ripped on that same disc I threw on hole 11, same disc I threw on hole 5. That disc was just working for me that day. And some people might wonder is why would I take this risk on this hole to just then lay up and take a birdie like everyone else already got a birdie anyway. It's because that layup shot off the tee is first of all harder than it looks, and then the upshot from there to the basket, which is like a 300-foot upshot with a drop behind the basket with woods on the right, OB left. It's just such a tricky shot, especially if it gets windy, and that was like a windy little area there. So for me, it just felt like I'm just gonna rip on this driver, hope it lands in bounds, and then have a tap in no-brainer 3, which felt really good that it worked. Didn't gain any strokes, but got the birdie, did what I had to do. I'm still thinking, no way I'll have a chance to win here. Hole 15, not really too worth talking about. It's a super fun hole to play. It's a very good looking hole, but it played very, very easy. The gap off the tee is just so big that you don't really have to worry about it. So I'm throwing that same disc again I just threw on hole 14, rip it straight down the fairway, caught it absolutely perfect again. Furthest drive of the card, way down there. It's gonna give me like 140 or 120 footer upshot. Sky got again. I've been throwing that disc so well. That was actually one of my worst upshots right here, which gave me this, not really a tester, but like it's possible to miss that. And that was almost too low. I remember I was like, got a little heart, my heart skipped a beat there because I thought I hit it too low. But luckily it went in. Hole 16. This is, I thought, my last hope. This is a hole that is parable. Hole 17 felt like a gimme almost, and a hole 18 is a potential eagle but guaranteed birdie, depending on the wind and depending on our tee shots. But this felt like the last hope to see the other players make a mistake. It's a chance for someone to 3-putt because of the hill, and parking this hole was very difficult. So I knew someone would have to make a putt to keep it going. I threw a wide spike hyzer. The wind was pushing kind of right to left. Slight headwind actually too. And that ended up absolutely perfect. And after that I watched Calvin. You can see his orange disc there, absolutely park it. Nico hit like a 25-footer uphill to stay in the lead. You can see Nico 39 under, Calvin 39 under. I'm one back with 2 very easy holes to play, and this is where it started being really key and important on who throws when on the tee. Nico had to tee first because he's just been on a birdie streak here, 6 birdies in a row. Then it was me, then it was Calvin. Nico hit one tiny little branch, which was kind of unlucky, I gotta say. Nico got a bit screwed on this hole, and it took all the speed out of his disc, and he landed like 70 feet short, which on an elevated basket with water behind it doesn't really seem like he wants to give that a run if you're tied for the lead. I'm up next, grabbing my mid-range again that I threw bad on hole 2, that I threw bad on hole 10, that I threw bad on hole 13, but in both rounds 1 and 2, I absolutely parked it with this disc. So I was like, I'll give it one more chance, redeem itself. This is the moment. I was a bit nervous here because that gap just, when you get nervous, gaps just get smaller and smaller and smaller. Pressure was up. I knew Calvin would have to follow up Nico's mistake, and I could put pressure on Calvin by parking it. So that gap felt real tight, and I was just, come on, hit the gap, hit the gap, hit the gap. Very relieved when I noticed, okay, perfect distance, hit the gap, tap and birdie. Right after me, Calvin stepped up, yanked it right, hit one of the first trees, and had to scramble to get a 3. Nico laid up for the 3, and I take a birdie to bring us to all tied with hole 18 to go at 39 under par. Hole 18 is a good hole, maybe should be called a par 4 and not a par 5. But it's 930 feet, very reachable in 2, which I don't mind. I think it should be a par 4. I can say that. It should be a par 4. But here's our landing zone. Bunker is inbounds, green is inbounds like any hole. And double water hazard on the tee shot and on the upshot. Doesn't really come into play, but it can. If the wind is up or the nerves are up. And we all knew that you had to take an eagle here if you wanted to go to a playoff. I was pretty sure at this point that it was going to be a playoff. I was mentally preparing for a playoff because I think we had a tailwind here, and I was like, at least 2 out of the 3 of us are going to get a 3. And I definitely wanted to be one of them. And now I had the box. I kind of wish like I didn't have the box looking back, but of course I had to birdie hole 17 to even get into this position. I'm throwing my Glow PD2, which I've been throwing great this entire weekend. It was probably my favorite driver to throw. I just threw it pretty much perfect on every single shot I threw it, and I wanted to rip this one. I knew a tailwind, and I could send it so far down that you get a little pitch, almost like a spike hyzer, to the green on my upshot. And then you can see what I can't explain how this happened. Let me go back here. Do you see how high this disc is? And then it goes, falls straight out of the sky, 30 feet. Yeah, I'm like, what? That's actually funny to watch. I don't know what I'm looking at there, but I'm like just so confused, and I felt so robbed. The whole round things were going my way so much, and I was like, now you decide after this amount of work I put in to like stay alive and give me a chance, and now the wind drops my disc straight down. Not over yet, I knew that, but I was in this terrible position here. Long grass, super uphill run up, and I still had like 400 feet to the basket, over water, over trees. And the reason I threw this so wide was, one, because of my footing, because it was really awkward to run up here, and because I remember Calvin from round 2 who swung it out so wide, got a good skip, and then rolled right up to the basket and parked it. And I kind of had that shot in mind and was like, throw it wider than you think, wider than you think. So I crushed it out there, gave it pretty much all the power I had from that footwork, and threw it just, I don't know, 30 feet too wide. Very disappointing. I watched Nico put it inside circle 1 right before I threw. Also, why is my shirt so dirty? I need a new grip bag. That bag is dirty. And now I have this, what is this? I don't know, 65, 70 footer. I remember I was just outside circle 2. This was like the windiest part of the course, so I have this crazy shot that is like, I don't even know what to do here. Just, all I was telling myself, don't miss low. Because I knew this was for potential playoff, and you don't want to miss low on the last chance you get. So I gave it height, tried to give it a chance, floated up. Hail Mary, of course, but no luck. Tap it in. For birdie, shooting a 14 down, which was my best round of the tournament. I shot 13, 13, and 14. Calvin missed his putt for eagle from the bunker, and Nico made a clutch 22 to 25 footer, which he told me he didn't even know was for the win, which I guess is kind of good in that situation to not have those extra nerves and pressure. But it also kind of annoyed me, like, how do you not know we're all tied and you're putting to win a tournament? Like, it has two sides to it, but I was kind of like, okay, that's cool that you didn't even know and you could play like carefree. But how didn't you know? Like, come on. Anyway, congrats to Nico for winning a Pro Tour after years and years of just coming up a bit short. We all know he puts in a lot of work and he's passionate, to say the least, about this game. So it was fine. I was kind of glad to see him win. Didn't feel too upset. I got way more chances than I expected. Took a very good second place, tied with Calvin. Emerson Keith shooting a fire 16 down in that wind. In those gusty conditions, 16 down is absolute killer. One of the reasons this course looked and played so easy was because there was absolutely no wind. And on open courses like this, no wind almost never happens. Yeah, pretty fun top 10 here. All great guys, great competitors, and man, what a tournament. Great time. I haven't been in a three-way tie for first with 1 hole to go on the lead card, I don't think ever. So it was a cool experience. Super hot, super humid, but still pleasure to play. And now we're all warming up for D-Glow. Paul Macbeth will be back. Of course, all of Team Discraft will be in Michigan. I will be my first time in Michigan. Eagle will be his first time in Michigan. And until then, thanks for watching. Now enjoy the shot of the day after about 40 minutes of watching me talk about myself. Alright guys, like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.
Oh my God! That was